Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Dana again, and today you're at Research Road. This is a weekly series where we go through science and tech news with a bit of dry humor. Then we answer some questions from y'all. Today is the 7th of January, 2025, and on this date, way back in 1610, Galileo discovered the first moons of Jupiter. So, starting off with tech news. A Chinese ship reportedly cut an undersea internet cable to Taiwan. After reporting resurfaced about Meta's AI characters, the characters were deleted. OpenAI is suggesting that it costs way more than people are paying to produce responses to the queries. While AI tech is clearly here to stay, it does look like the business side of the industry needs to run a few queries themselves. And now on to space. Amateur and professional astronomers teamed up and corrected a long-held and apparently incorrect view of Jupiter. The pretty colorful clouds are not the result of ammonia ice, as widely and previously believed, but are basically a mix of ammonium hydrosulfide and, well, smog. Now it's time to talk about the developing climate crisis. Time to add a new concern to the growing list. Researchers are pointing out that Antarctic ice melt will reduce pressure on volcanoes under the ice sheet, leading to their eruption, which will, of course, melt more ice, which will, of course, lead to more eruptions. The price of apples is expected to climb because output is down due to climate change. In the world of animals, the Center for Biological Diversity is matching the reward offered by U.S. Fish and Wildlife after another endangered gray wolf in Washington state was killed, bringing the total to 3. Otters in California came up with a solution to an invasive crab problem. The otters are eating the crabs. Speaking of invasive animals, news is spreading about what U.S. Fish and Wildlife plans on doing to the barred owl in areas where there is conflict with the spotted owl, and they don't seem happy. This is actually older news. We covered it months ago, but recently people seem to be more aware of what's going to happen. If you missed the past coverage, Fish and Wildlife plans on killing on average more than 10,000 barred owls per year for the next 30 years. In health news, the first known human bird flu death in the U.S. was reported in Louisiana. It is the same patient from our last report about the severe case in the state. To move away from the spread of the virus most are ignoring and to focus on the one that is grabbing headlines. The human metapneumovirus, also known as HMPV, is reportedly surging in China and India. Experts say there is no cause for concern. This virus was identified more than 20 years ago and has been studied significantly. Now let's dig up the past a little. Research suggests that chimpanzees today pick stone tools in much the same way our ancestors did millions of years ago. Researchers let the chimpanzees pick stones to crack open a nut using the hammer and anvil method. The chimps chose hard stones as hammers and softer stones as anvils. That's sort of what evidence says we did as well. The research also indicated that tool use and selection in chimps appeared to be passed down to younger chimps. And now on to oddities. A spider monkey wearing a pink tutu was caught by police walking down a highway in Missouri. It had escaped a nearby residence and was returned. In a completely separate incident in California, a spider monkey wearing a onesie was taken into custody during an alleged DUI stop of a Rolls-Royce. The monkey is now recovering at a zoo in Oakland. Shelters in Florida are extending their hours so they can act as warming stations as the temperatures drop. And now, we're going to answer some of your questions.
Hi, Dana. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I mainly watch the other channel, but I listen with my daughter, and your show auto-played after one of Belle's, and she loves it. January 7th is her birthday, and she wants to know if it's possible to really bring dinosaurs back like they did in Jurassic Park.
Happy birthday, Becca. Sadly, no. With current tech, it's not really possible because DNA degrades over time. Due to the extreme age, it's very, very unlikely we'd ever find a sample that is usable with current tech and understanding. But if this is a dream of yours, just remember that everything is impossible until it isn't.
I'm sending this question to everybody on the team. What black swan events do you see as possible in 2025?
I know in economics that black swan is a surprise event that has a negative impact on the financial sector. In my world, it's just an unpredictable event. I do find a delicious amount of irony in asking for predictions of the unpredictable, though. Possible black swan things in my corner of coverage, I'd say a massive cyber intrusion causing unforeseen events, a certain tech mogul pushing things too far in the EU, or a stock market crash brought on by people realizing how overvalued certain tech companies are.
Can you tell me whether or not somebody traveling near the speed of light would really not age?
According to the current theory, somebody traveling near the speed of light would age much slower than somebody on Earth just hanging out. The most famous exploration of this is called the twin paradox. It's actually something that is kind of a huge plot hole in a lot of science fiction.
Give us some teasers. What are your science fiction stories about?
Science fiction, obviously. I don't really want to tease them. I actually got really nervous about the cave transmissions one, so no plot giveaways, but most are very much on brand for the deeper philosophies of the channels.
Star Wars or Star Trek? One can only choose one.
I reject your premise. They're both cool. That's like asking which is better, food or drink. They're not meant to be comparable, but may the prophets guide you to your answer. That looks like all the questions for this week. This week's quote is attributed to Carl Sagan. Had Jupiter been several dozen times more massive, the matter in its interior would have undergone thermonuclear reactions, and Jupiter would have begun to shine by its own light. The largest planet is a star that failed. So that's all the data we have to date. Hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you again soon.